Okay, so today we're going to actually graph some polynomial functions. Yesterday we talked about the end behavior, so what the graphs are going to look like, and today we're going to graph them. And because we're at home, if you have a graphing calculator, I'm going to let you use that. If you don't have a graphing calculator, there is the graphing calculator on your computer that you can use, the TI, the little rabbit thing on your desktop. And I'll show you another way to do it if you don't have either of those options. I'll show you Desmos because that's a pretty easy method. So I'll do the first one using the graphing calculator. I'll do the second one using Desmos. And honestly, they both start the same way. You're still going to start by identifying the degree, identifying the leading coefficient, and looking at what is this graph, what are the ends of this graph going to look like. So in A, the degree, remember from yesterday, the degree is the largest exponent. So this is a third degree polynomial. The leading coefficient is the number in front of the term that has the largest exponent. So in this case, the leading coefficient is -1. And what we really care about here is that the degree is an odd number and the leading coefficient is a negative number. So when the leading coefficient is negative, the right side of the graph points downward. When the degree is odd, the right or the left side is going to point in the opposite direction, odd opposite. So the leading coefficient tells us, wrong color. The leading coefficient tells us what the right side of the graph is going to do. The degree tells us if the other side is going to do the same thing or if the other side is going to do the opposite thing. And then these will connect somehow in the middle. I really don't care about how they connect in the middle. They will connect somehow in the middle. So if you have a graphing calculator, let me move this out of the way. You go to y equals, and that's where we're going to type the polynomial in. You have to use the negative button, not the minus sign. X is the button right here next to alpha, and then raise it to the third. Our cursor is currently stuck in the exponent. You have to hit the right arrow to get down out of there. Plus x squared. You can either do raised to the second, or you can push this button right here that just squares it. Plus 3x minus 3. If we want to see this graph, we're going to push this button that says graph. Now, do you see how my screen is like super zoomed in right now? If you don't like how the screen looks, you can push zoom 6. Number 6 is Z standard. Zoom standard resets it to a -10 to 10, -10 to 10. So all the axes are nice and regular. And this, notice the left side points up, the right side points down, and it connects in the middle. You could try to copy it from here, but it's best if you push second graph, that goes into the table, and then you can pick out some points that you can plot. So I am going to use -2, 3. I wish I could have these on the same screen. -1, -4. 0, -3. 1, 0. And 2, -1. So -2, 3. -1, -4. 0, -3. 1, 0. And 2, -1. Now, this, it kind of looks like we should connect it like this and make an arrow. That's definitely not how it goes. We have to connect these in the order that we graphed them. So having this graph off to the side can kind of help, but basically this point farthest on the left, our graph is going to go up from there. It's going to come down and go up and around and then keep going down. So this graph can help you. Now, honestly, especially since we're not doing in-person school right now, there is no way for me to say, graph this by hand and submit your answer unless I have you submit a picture of your work. On the test, it's going to be select the graph that matches the polynomial. So on your assignment, it's that same thing. Select the graph that matches the polynomial. So you're going to have a 2-click answer limit on your assignment. Really, I want you to look at the degree and the leading coefficient and eliminate answer choices from there. Then you could do something like pick on this point right here. Plug 0 in and see what you get. 0 is a pretty easy number to plug in. -0 cubed is 0. 0 squared is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. You plug 0 in, you get -3. So you know that the point 0, -3 has to be on that graph. That can help you to narrow down which graph it is. So honestly, if you know this information and where it crosses the y-axis, you're probably going to be able to pick out which graph you need. All right, I want to show you using Desmos, and I think I need to change my share screen options. So hold on a second, I'm going to pause. So if you don't have a graphing calculator, you can also use a website called Desmos. And I'm going to write that address right here, www.desmos.com. And I'll highlight that in pink. Now I'm still going to start this problem the same way. I'm going to look at the degree. The degree is the largest exponent. In this case, it's 4, which is an even number. The leading coefficient is the number in front of that term. In this case, it looks like a +1. The key there is that it is a positive number. A positive leading coefficient means that the right side is going to point upward. An even degree means the left side is going to point in the same direction. So the right side is determined by the leading coefficient. The even degree tells us the left side is going to do the same thing. If we go to desmos.com, it looks like this the first time you go there, and you click the button Graphing Calculator. And then here you can type in y equals or f of x equals or whatever, and then you can type in what our equation says it is. So it is x to the 4th minus x to the 3rd. So x, you use your exponent key, it's above the 6, it's the little caret, the little arrow up thingy. X to the 4th, did I say minus x to the 3rd? You do have to hit your right arrow to get out of the exponent, just like you do in the graphing calculator. Minus 4x squared plus 4. So minus 4x squared, I already forgot what it was, plus 4. And as you type, it's graphing it for you. So then it actually shows you in gray some of those points. So I know that the point 0, 4 is on the graph. This point, it's actually showing you, like, they call it the bounce points and the cross points. So this is like the minimum of this little parabola piece. This is the maximum of this little parabola piece. Then it crosses the x-axis. So it's going to show you all of the x-intercepts, y-intercepts, and then the key points. The other thing that you can do is you can hit this wheel, this edit list. It's like a little settings wheel. And then there's this little symbol that says convert to table. And that will give you some of the numbers on there. And the cool thing about this table in Desmos is if you want different numbers, I can type in other numbers that I want to see. I could type in down here, if x is 120, what would y be? If x was -9, what would y be? So you can type in any x value, but that will give you some points that you could then graph and then use to sketch the graph yourself. Now on your assignment, you're not going to have to actually sketch this graph. You're going to have to identify which graph matches the polynomial. So again, if you know this information right here, that the two ends are going to point up, then if one of your options looks like this, you know that's not the correct one. If one of your options looks like that, you know that's not the correct one. You're looking for the ones where both ends point up. Then if you plug 0 into all of these, you would have 4. So I know that this thing crosses the y-axis at 4. So the two ends point up, and it crosses the y-axis at 4, that may be enough information for you to pick the correct graph. If it isn't enough information, you could go to Desmos or your graphing calculator and look at the picture or look at the points and then match the graph that way. Basically, I'm trying to teach you as much as I can about functions, and knowing some of these key things can help you pick out the correct function, and it helps you know kind of how things work together. And that's really kind of the point of that. So that is it for notes today. You can use your graphing calculator on your computer, or a graphing calculator if you have one, or desmos.com. Either of those methods work. There's also a website, geogebra.com, that has the same kind of graphing calculator features that you can explore if you want to do that. Your assignment is on big ideas today. So go to Clever, then click on big ideas. And then it is 4.1 part 2. It's not very many problems. I think it's like 5 or 6 problems. There is a 2-click check limit, so make sure that you are trying and fairly certain of your choice before you click the answer check button, so that you can see how you're doing on each problem.